Salutations and welcome, friends, to another Trust the Profits Preakness Stakes Spotlight Series. My name is Matthew DeSantis. You can find me on Twitter at the handle at Fail to Menace. Well, before we dive into this series Spotlight Focus Contender, which is National Treasure, make sure to press that subscribe button here on YouTube to get all of our content on Trust the Profits. We don't just have you covered for the Triple Crown, folks. We're going to have you covered well beyond that. We're going to be doing tons of content over the summer. Obviously, we're going to be up at Saratoga. I'm going to be up there Whitney weekend. Make sure to come and say hi if you're up there that weekend as well. But we're going to be getting ready for the Keeneland Fall Meet. We're going to be getting you ready for the Breeders' Cup. This is all year round. Every single week, we're going to have tons of new content for you. We're going to be doing a lot of handicapping content. Colin Sheehan's got Doubling Down every week. I have a Capping the Card every week, where we go track to track across the country and give you out some price plays and some winners. So always a lot of fun. We do live betting Thursday nights. We got international racing. We got domestic racing coverage. Everything you could possibly need and be interested in for horse racing, we have right here on Trust the Profits. Now, additionally, like this video and comment below with what you think National Treasure's chances are in this year's Preakness Stakes. But let's dive into a horse that I was very high on, and I continue to be very high on. And if you watched any of our preview videos or any of our initial countdown videos for the Kentucky Derby, you know that this was a horse early on in the season I was very, very high on in National Treasure. I just love his pedigree. I think his running style sets up very nicely for these types of big races. I think he has a ton of ability, and he seems like a horse that is only going to get better and stronger the more distance he gets. So this is a horse I really, really like a lot. So let's talk a little bit about National Treasure in this year's Preakness Field, and let's talk a little bit more about the field. And listen, it's still a little unsettled at this point. There might be some other horses coming in. Instant Coffee being rumored to potentially be here. Another horse like Henry Q coming in potentially from the out west will be coming in as well, maybe. But this is a rough idea of who the field is going to be comprised of come Saturday, the 20th of May, for the 148th running of the Preakness Stakes. One of the things that should stand out about National Treasure in this spot, aside from the trainer, who we'll get to in a second, is the fact that this horse should sit a really nice trip. If you look, there's a lot of back end speed in this race. There's a lot of closers in this race. Blazing Sevens, Mages mid pack, Perform as a closer, Disarm is mid pack. Red Route 1 is a closer. There's a lot of Chase the Chaos as a closer. There's a lot of, if Instant Coffee draws in, that's another closer. There's a lot of closers in this race. Really, the only front end speed in this race is Confidence Game and First Mission. National Treasure should sit right behind those two, I would imagine, and should sit a perfect pocket trip for this horse that can easily get the distance. I think this horse is only going to get better the more you stretch this horse out. So I really like National Treasure, who's going a lot longer than he's ever gone before in this race. So I like that angle a lot for a horse like National Treasure. I think the race sets up potentially very well for him. But let's talk a little bit about his profile. Listen, he's a Bob Baffert trained horse. That is relatively new in terms of the update, but it's also old. This was always a Bob Baffert horse, but this is a horse that got transferred to the Tim Yak Teen Barn because of the Baffert suspension at Churchill Downs. Now, because National Treasure did not qualify for the Kentucky Derby after finishing fourth in the Santa Anita Derby last time out, therefore he got transferred back to the Baffert barn. And so he's back in the care of Bob Baffert, back running those 6 furlong bullets that Baffert always has his horses run. He just ran a 1:11-1 6 furlong bullet leading up to this race. I mean, this is a horse that is primed and ready to run, one would imagine. And I think is, certainly sitting on a really big effort here for Baffert. And of course, remember, Baffert can enter horses in all the other legs of the Triple Crown. He was able to do that the last couple of years. He just wasn't able to enter horses at Churchill Downs. That suspension is now over, by the way. He will be able to enter horses in Churchill Downs later on, starting next year again. And so that is something to certainly keep in mind. But like I said, for the Preakness Stakes, it doesn't matter. Baffert can absolutely enter horses there. Has Johnny Velasquez aboard, and obviously Quality Road up top, Medaglia d'Oro Dam underneath. There's a lot to like there from a pedigree standpoint, which is why I'm a big fan of a horse like National Treasure. And let's talk a little bit more about this horse's past performances. What's so interesting about this horse is he's been around for a while, but he doesn't have a lot of miles on him yet. broke his maiden impressively at Del Mar initially in September, then comes back, runs a very nice second to Cave Rock in those American Pharaoh Stakes. Obviously, Cave Rock was, a lot of people thought, the top 2-year-old leading into that Breeders' Cup Juvenile race. And what's he doing that Breeders' Cup Juvenile race? Now he finishes third that day, right behind 14 and Cave Rock. Again, runs really, really well underneath. And then comes back in the Sham and runs third again. Now, that was a very close-up third between you had a few horses there. You had Reincarnate, you had Newgate, but you also had National Treasure right there, very close to win the Sham Stakes. And then you had the Run Happy Santa Anita Derby. Now, it should be pointed out that was off a 3-month layoff. And in between that, you had two things happen in between that. One, you had the barn change from Bob Baffert to Tim Yakteen. Two, he got scratched the morning of the San Felipe Stakes because of an issue with his left hindquarter. And that was a potential health issue. And so he was scratched that day. Now he comes back, starts working out again, starts training again, gets back in the Santa Anita Derby. But you figure this is a horse that's still rehabbing a little bit. And this is a horse now coming off a 3-month layoff, finished fourth that day. Not the greatest effort. Obviously, the first three were kind of a bang, bang, bang finish. But if you notice, National Treasure was, kept running. And listen, this horse likes to go a longer and longer distance. Can he get there? I mean, this is, I think, the concern with National Treasure is he is kind of the horse that he is. 99 Equibase speed figure at the American Pharaoh, 100 in the Juvenile Breeders' Cup, 101 in the Sham, 101 in the Santa Anita Derby. He's running the same speed figure basically again and again and again and again. So there's not a ton of progression from National Treasure. So is he just that type of a horse? And is he a horse that's just going to be an underneath type of a play in this particular spot? I think there's certainly a logic for that. And I think, listen, a lot of this is going to depend on what price you're going to get National Treasure at. If you're going to get him at 3-1, then I don't have a ton of interest in him. But if you're going to get him closer to maybe 5-1, 6-1, then I think there's some value there with National Treasure, which is a horse that I still don't think has run his best race. I still think his best racing is ahead of him. Listen, there are some horses that once I latch onto them, I do stump for these types of horses. If he can't do it at the Preakness, then I'm just not sure that he'll be able to do it. But I do think now, second back from a layoff, you're going even a little bit longer than you went in the Santa Anita Derby. He should like that extra distance. He should sit the perfect trip. I can't get around that enough. He should be sitting third behind two horses that are going to be going not too fast up front, but might just wear each other out. In First Mission, who's never run in a Grade 1 before, and this is a big step up, and Confidence Game, who's coming back off of an effort in the Kentucky Derby and running on 2 weeks rest. It is entirely plausible that National Treasure gets the jump and runs down those two horses. Confidence Game maybe gets tired on the front end. Maybe First Mission isn't quite ready for prime time yet. So there's reason to suspect that National Treasure could sit, like I said, the perfect trip in this particular spot. Additionally, he's back in the Baffert barn. Baffert had this horse ready to roll in a lot of other efforts. This is a horse that was right behind Forte, right behind Cave Rock as a 2-year-old, was kind of, I think a lot of people thought probably the next best 2-year-old behind those two. And so this is a horse that's got a ton of ability, a ton of pedigree. And again, if you're getting the right price on National Treasure, I think is very interesting. I don't like him at 3-1. To be clear, I don't like him at that price. You get a little bit more of a price on him. He's a horse I absolutely like. And I think you might just get a price on him because people are going to be running to the windows to bet the Kentucky Derby winner because that's what they do. And I think a horse like First Mission has a lot of buzz about him for Brad Cox. And I think that's a horse that's going to attract a fair amount of money. So we'll be interested to see what the morning line odds are, what the post time odds are for a horse like National Treasure. But I think he's a very serious, legitimate win threat in this year's Preakness Stakes. Well, that's going to do it for the spotlight on National Treasure. Make sure to press the like button and make sure to comment below with what you think National Treasure's chances are in this race. Make sure to subscribe to Trust the Profits and press that subscribe button here on YouTube. And listen, folks, make sure to follow me on Twitter at the handle @Failed to Menace. Well, until next time, friends, my name is Matthew DeSantis, wishing you a great and prosperous day at the races and reminding you that it's now post time.